Hiroshima anniversary. Mayor says Ukraine and Middle East crises show world ignoring nuclear tragedies. On 80th anniversary of atomic bombing, Kazumi Matsui urges younger people to recognize inhumane consequences of nuclear weapons as a deterrent. Hiroshima anniversary. Mayor says Ukraine and Middle East crises show world ignoring nuclear tragedies. On 80th anniversary of atomic bombing, Kazumi Matsui urges younger people to recognize inhumane consequences of nuclear weapons as a deterrent. Justin McCurry in Hiroshima. Wednesday, the 6th of August, 2025, 4:39 BST. She, the mayor of Hiroshima, has led calls for the world's most powerful countries to abandon nuclear deterrence at a ceremony to mark 80 years since the city was destroyed by an American atomic bomb. As residents, survivors, and representatives from 120 countries gathered at the city's Peace Memorial Park on Wednesday morning, Kazumi Matsui warned that the conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East had contributed to a growing acceptance of nuclear weapons. These developments flagrantly disregard the lessons the international community should have learned from the tragedies of history, he said in his peace declaration, against the backdrop of the A-bomb dome, one of the few buildings that survived the attack 8 decades ago. They threatened to topple the peace-building frameworks so many have worked so hard to construct, he added, before urging younger people to recognize that acceptance of the nuclear option could cause utterly inhumane consequences for their future. They threatened to topple the peace-building frameworks so many have worked so hard to construct, he added, before urging younger people to recognize that acceptance of the nuclear option could cause utterly inhumane consequences for their future. Despite the global turmoil, he said, we, the people, must never give up. Instead, we must work even harder to build civil society consensus that nuclear weapons must be abolished for a genuinely peaceful world. As applause rang out, white doves were released into the sky, while an eternal flame of peace burned in front of a cenotaph dedicated to victims of the world's first nuclear attack. The ceremony is seen as the last opportunity for significant numbers of aging Hibakusha, survivors of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, to pass on first-hand warnings of the horror of nuclear warfare. Just under 100,000 survivors are still alive, according to recent data from the Health Ministry, with an average age of just over 86. On Wednesday, the names and other personal details of more than 4,940 registered survivors who have died in the past year were added to a registry kept inside the cenotaph, bringing the number of deaths attributed to the Hiroshima bombing to almost 350,000. In his peace declaration, Matsui recalled how one woman had begged for water as fires raged through the city after the Enola Gay, a US B-29 bomber, dropped a 15-kiloton uranium bomb on Hiroshima on the 6th of August, 1945, killing an estimated 140,000 people by the end of the year. Yoshi Yokoyama, 96, a wheelchair user who visited the park early in the morning with her grandson, told reporters her parents and grandparents had died as a result of the Hiroshima attack. The fires were still burning, and the dead lay where they had fallen, when a 10-year-old Yoshiko Niyama entered Hiroshima, 2 days after it was destroyed by an American atomic bomb. I remember that the air was filled with smoke and there were bodies everywhere, and it was so hot, Niyama says in an interview at her home in the Hiroshima suburbs. The faces of the survivors were so badly disfigured that I didn't want to look at them. But I had to.